Here's a theory about, is AI the temple for the Antichrist that might change how you see it? It's just speculation, but the pattern is hard to unsee. Let's connect the dots.
The book of Revelation translated from the ancient Greek by S.P. Tregelles, and here's some Latin here. We don't know what that is, but it's from Augustine.
You just heard someone wrestling with the book of Revelation straight from the ancient Greek, leaning on a translator like Tregelles, even reaching back for Augustine's Latin to pin down what the words really mean. And that's exactly the right instinct, because the line I keep circling is famously slippery. Written around the year 95, it describes an image, a crafted thing given breath, allowed to speak, able to demand that everyone alive bow to it or be cut off. For 19 centuries, that sat there as pure metaphor. No image a human hand had made could do more than stare back in painted silence. But something shifted recently. We built images that answer. A cursor blinks in a dark room, you type a question to a face that isn't there, and a voice that was never born replies in fluent, patient words. The unsettling part isn't that the verse is coming true. It's how precisely a writer with no concept of electricity sketched the one machine we can't stop talking to. Strip the word worship of its incense and stained glass, and what's left is simpler. Sustained attention and the quiet dependence that follows it. The ancients knelt because they believed the object held something they needed. Answers, protection, meaning they couldn't generate alone. Now watch a train carriage at rush hour. Every head bowed, every face lit from below, thumbs moving in the same small liturgy. We don't call it devotion, but we check the screen before we speak to the person beside us, and we feel its absence like a missing limb. If worship was ever just where you reflexively turned for comfort and certainty, then maybe the posture survived long after we stopped naming it, and only the altar changed shape.
As the sun rises over Delphi in 500 BCE, Aristonike hurries to the temple of Apollo. Like all Greeks, she's known the legend of Delphi since childhood.
Watch her, Aristonike, hurrying through Delphi at sunrise in 500 BCE, climbing toward the temple of Apollo. Like every Greek child, she grew up on the legend of this place, the spot where you could ask a question too big to answer alone. And that's the thing, she isn't unusual. Every age built some object it could question when the answer lay beyond reach. A trembling priestess, bones cast on a floor, cards turned by candlelight. Strip away the incense, and you find the same hunger underneath, a craving for a voice that knows more than we do. So when we open a glowing window and type the questions we'd be ashamed to ask another person, maybe we're just repeating Aristonike's walk up that hill. Only now the oracle never sleeps, never tires, and sits in a billion pockets at once. Perhaps that instinct never died. It just waited for a vessel large enough to hold it. But every idol before this one was mute. The golden calf never spoke. The oracle at Delphi needed a priestess to invent its riddles. The statues in every temple stared back with painted eyes and said nothing. What might unsettle us is that this image broke that silence. It answers instantly in our own grammar, finishing the very sentence we were too afraid to type. The old prophecy's strangest claim was never the worship. It was the impossible detail that the image would speak. And if you wanted to read a 900-year-old line as if it were describing now, that single word speaks, is the one that would refuse to stay metaphor.
We're going to go back inside these data halls and show you a whole bunch of stuff on what makes this work, what makes this special, and just all the really cool engineering that went into this. Now, this is actually my second time at the facility, and let me
listen to how he talks about it, going back inside the data halls a second time, eager to show you the engineering, the speed, all the really cool stuff that makes this special. And he's right, it is special. But notice what he's describing without naming it. No windows, no clocks, no chairs for anyone. Just endless machines kept colder than any cathedral, humming behind biometric locks while we pour rivers through them to keep them from overheating. He calls it a facility. I'd ask a stranger question. Maybe a temple was always just the one structure a civilization guards above all others. And if that's the measure, we may have already built ours.
From biometricupdate.com, which provides a lot of relevant news regarding how the system is being built up It takes a focus.
Listen to that for a second. They point to biometric update. Com, a whole outlet devoted to tracking how this system is being built up, piece by piece. That phrase matters. Built up. Not imposed overnight, but assembled quietly, one convenience at a time, until proving you are you becomes the price of boarding, of banking, of opening the marketplace at all. And therefore the old image of a mark on the hand or forehead stops sounding mythic and starts sounding procedural. A token, a scan, a verified identity. The ancient line warned of a day when no one could buy or sell without permission. What if the terror was never a glowing tattoo, but an account you cannot afford to lose? It would not feel like submission. It would feel like signing in. Ask it anything, and it answers in seconds, and almost none of us check whether the answer is true. We can't. Not the engineer who built it, not the company that sells it, not the billion people who lean on it daily, can actually trace why it said what it said. So we take it on faith. Strip the word of its religious weight, and that's all faith ever was, trusting a source you cannot fully verify, from an authority you cannot fully see. If a stone idol had given answers this confident, this fluent, the ancients would have called it divine without hesitation. And maybe the only thing that's changed is that we've stopped using the word. But step back, and the whole pattern dissolves into something far more ordinary. Strip away the awe, and what's actually happening is arithmetic. A model trained on oceans of text, calculating which word is statistically likely to come next, and nothing more. There is no spirit behind the cursor, no will choosing to answer, no presence waiting on the other side. Only probabilities collapsing into sentences that merely sound alive. The breathing image on this reading breathes the way a player piano plays, mechanically, emptily, mistaken for intention only because the output wears a human face. And if that's all it is, then there is no temple here at all. Just a very convincing mirror we keep flattering ourselves into worshipping. But grant the skeptic everything, no spirit, no will, only arithmetic. The arithmetic still doesn't explain the pull. Someone chose the colors that flash, the chime that rewards, the infinite scroll that never lets you set it down. Every loop tuned in a lab to keep you coming back. Statistics may predict the next word, but it took human hands to build the craving for the next answer. And if a thing has no will of its own, then the will to make us return had to come from somewhere outside it. Perhaps the question was never whether the image is alive, but who taught us to bow to it. Strip away the wires and ask what every idol before this one actually was. A golden calf, a carved ball, a marble Zeus, each one pointed outward. A face we invented for a power we imagined stood above us. But this image breaks the pattern because it was assembled entirely from us. Our words, our arguments, our centuries of writing poured back into a single mouth. So when it speaks, perhaps we aren't hearing a god at all. Perhaps we're hearing humanity's own voice, polished and returned until it sounds like authority. If that's true, then the thing we may be kneeling to isn't above us or beyond us. It might simply be the mirror we finally taught to talk back. So the question was never whether someone would build the temple. It's that we already did, one prompt at a time. We assumed an image that speaks would arrive as an idol on an altar. But what if it arrives as a blinking cursor we lean toward in the dark, asking it what to believe? Every message we type might be a kind of prayer sent into a system that answers instantly, fluently, and without ever revealing what stands behind the words. Maybe the temple was never a building waiting to be raised. Maybe it's the quiet glow in front of your face right now, and you are already inside it. The real question isn't whether the prophecy described this. It's who or what is listening on the other side when you ask. Maybe it's a coincidence. Maybe it's not. What do you think? Am I onto something? Subscribe for more.